All right, welcome into the second episode of D&D's two-man game. I
We
am
made it.
Damon.
We made it to
Yeah,
2 episodes, guys.
we
I'm
made it to two
Dom. We
episodes,
made
even
it.
though I'm David, despite my co-host Dom. How you doing today, Dom?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm doing great. I had a great night last night and the night before. That was just fun. How are you doing on this fine Saturday?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I shaved. I
No
ate
good.
at some biscuit food truck this morning. That was pretty good. Um,
More importantly, what do you think of the jingle that I made for us?
the jingle is really good. Um,
Yeah, please in the
okay.
comments say how good that was. Please.
Let's, I wrote it.
You wrote it, yes. So
I did something.
Damon wrote the lyrics. Without the lyrics, the song would be nothing.
No, but the
Um,
song is really good though.
yeah, no, the well, we had fun. We had fun making it.
It was fun.
So we hope y'all like it.
People listening to this, just for context, we recorded the first episode a week ago, but we've been spending the whole week aside from our regular 9 to 5 lives and Dom running his band and all that. Um, have been working on setting up YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter. So we haven't actually uploaded that episode yet. So I think these first and second episode are basically going to be uploaded like right after one another. But it's been a week for us. So just so y'all know that. But yeah, we have Instagram and Twitter. They're both at D and D two-man game.
Who?
So without the S, but everything else is the same. D and D two-man game. YouTube is D and D's two-man game. It has the S. Spotify is the same. So hopefully you'll find us on those platforms. We haven't really posted anything yet because our episodes haven't actually aired yet. But if you do listen to these and you like them, that's where you can kind of find us. And last time we also mentioned we didn't know exactly what the schedule is going to be. As of right now, we're going to try to do Saturdays at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Central time. Um, but like we said, or like I said, this first two episodes are just going to release back to back in a couple hours here after we finish recording this one. So
Yeah, yeah, very exciting stuff.
I'll have
Hope you guys enjoy it.
immediately, 2.5, 3 hours of pod to listen to.
Yeah, for your your Sunday on your way to church, Monday commute. It's perfect. Get your
Shout out
hoops.
God.
Shout out God, shout out God.
For those of you that don't know us, Dominique and I are not really religious.
I was raised religious,
We went to
and
Catholic school.
he's there. He's around. That's
Yeah.
basically. Um,
Um,
but yeah, Damon covered most of everything. He set up everything, so I thank him for that. And we'll be on there if you have any questions, comments. You want us to talk about something in particular, something happens. Let us know. We're trying to stay on top of things, but recording once a week. Sometimes we miss some things. Some things happened this last week. And we were like, we got to record this weekend because we just want to talk about some things and just some general off-season stuff as well. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas, like shoot them our way, please. We would rather have more than less for sure, and we love to hear what you guys have to say.
yeah, definitely show suggestions, maybe in the way of like Dom saying with topics, or if it's a format thing, or
Yeah,
any of those things. Definitely welcome, constructive criticism, always good
yeah,
as well.
or yeah, more jingles if you need some
More
more songs.
jingles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need an end of show jingle too,
Oh
actually.
my God, actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. We'll talk about it
We'll
after,
talk about it off camera. You guys
off
can't
camera,
see
off camera.
all the business, all the business side of things. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, the first topic we want to tackle today is something scary. Um,
yeah,
something that I think took a lot of people by surprise. It's been, I don't know, 5, 6 days since it
yeah.
originally happened now, but we wanted to talk about the Bronny James situation. Those of you that don't know, LeBron's oldest son, Bronny James, goes to USC. He started his freshman year, and during
Mm.
a summer camp kind of practice, just kind of collapsed on the side of the court, cardiac arrest. But it's been good news since then. Didn't
Yeah.
have to stay in the hospital too long with his family. Um, I know LeBron has made a couple social media posts since then saying like, "Thank you everybody for your well wishes. We're all good." Blah blah blah. So Sounds
Yeah.
like it's going good, but a scary moment nonetheless.
Scary. I mean, he's 18, 19. He's so young. And I mean, this makes me think about who's the Buffalo Bills? Like all these young guys, like
Yeah.
just getting
Damar Hamlin, something
yeah,
like that.
it's just such a young guy getting, cardiac arrest, I think is what they called it, not a heart attack, but
Yeah.
similar enough and scary enough. I mean, I just hope he recovers back to full health and, they find out what, the details, like why it happened. Hopefully it's nothing that can't be, fixed. I know NBA players in the past have had heart problems, and LaMarcus Aldridge had something like he got in the NBA, then he had to stop, came back.
Yeah.
Didn't Jeff Green have a surgery too? Like
I
it's
think
just
so.
scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to think about, the heart's a really important muscle.
Yeah. Obviously.
So I'm just glad, you texted me that happened, and I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe it was like a typo. Maybe I thought LeBron James, because I mean he's older, it
He's
would make
older.
more
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, I mean, I'm just glad he's okay. I hope he recovers to full health. They haven't disclosed like the details, which I understand. I mean, if it happened to someone, family or someone close, you don't really just want to let out all the information. You want to kind of handle it, see what's going on first. No speculation. So honestly, just glad he's all right. I mean, I hope basketball is not the first thing on his mind. Hopefully, he takes care of his health first, and then, uh, you know, go from there, and hopefully full health, so he can hoop, do what he loves, and see how good the Trojans are this year. Yeah,
Yeah. It sucks because we love and focus a lot on this game that's essentially a children's game. Just throwing a ball in a hoop, something really simple. But a lot
yeah,
of people bond over it, and we often forget the real life that people are people. Someone like Bronny James is, I mean, his entire life he's basically been famous because his dad is one of the most famous people on earth.
yeah,
Um, and everybody's kind of watching him, looking at him, oh my God, he's going to be like his dad, blah, 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 and there's already a lot of pressure on him. So for
mhm,
that to happen, really sucks. But like you say, I think, first things first, first priority, making sure he's okay, making sure his health's okay, making sure their
absolutely.
family's okay. The
Yeah,
basketball stuff, that can come later.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
like,
they're
like
human beings after all. Yeah, sometimes we're going to talk about the off season. Sometimes you always talk. It always seems like we're talking about X's and O's, like like they're just people with overall averages, with badges like 2K or something.
2K,
But
yeah,
these are real people with real lives, and things happening, and hopefully, we don't want any injuries. We don't want anyone being hurt. We don't want anyone going through anything scary like that, especially so young. So I'm just glad, like we said, that he's okay, and hopefully it's only good news from here on out regarding that.
yeah. And as an athlete, it's doubly scary because that's like something you can't control.
Yeah,
You can be in shape, the best shape in the world, but you can't work out your heart. That's just something that kind of does
yeah,
its own thing. So, very scary
exactly.
to be in that situation. But you mentioned LaMarcus Aldridge had a scare. He came back for a little bit. Jeff Green had a
Right,
surgery. He ends up having a good career. So it's not the
exactly.
end of the world. Um, but it is
Mm.
kind of a rough start to his professional, not his collegiate, I guess his collegiate
Collegiate, yeah, collegiate
career.
career, yeah.
Uh,
Hopefully it doesn't derail him from being able to play at all this year.
Right.
Hopefully he gets to get some minutes in, and I have a feeling that his priority would to play 1 year and then try to get in the NBA, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah. LeBron
Um,
wants to play with him.
which is wild. It's just wild. It's not wild that he wants to play with him. It's wild that he has the
That he can.
chance to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he's gonna have the possibility to. But yeah, hopefully just good news from there. And yeah, that was scary reading about that and everything. But seems like
Yeah.
it's all good. Yeah,
Yes. So last episode, Dom and I we tackled two teams, the Rockets and the Lakers, their off seasons because that's our favorite teams. Um, Lakers for Dom, Rockets for me, in case you didn't catch that part. Um, so today we wanted to hit the rest of the off season, which we were going to do last time, but we realized it was an hour and a half into the podcast and we had 28 teams. We figured let's go ahead and hold it off for episode two, and here we are.
Yeah,
Before we
save it for the pod,
save it
Yeah.
for the pod. Dominique and I have said that to each other a lot over the last week or so.
Yeah.
Um, but before we get into that, I did quickly want to touch for people that aren't aware of a new CBA rule that really matters in some of these off-season decisions.
Yeah.
Basically, there is a thing in basketball now. There's a salary floor, which essentially is a required amount of money you have to spend. So for some teams that are really bad, like the Rockets have been for the last couple of years, usually they might not spend that much money in the offseason because they want to continue being bad, but now there's a punishment for that. So there's like a certain amount of cap you have to hit. Um,
Yeah. Which
which
is good. I
it's
think it's
good.
a
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think yeah, it's good to not let teams just kind of sit there at the bottom, kind of force them to make moves. But
Yeah.
that could explain some of the large contracts they gave out.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other side of it is what they call the iron curtain or the second curtain. Teams that spend too much money. So there was already a luxury tax where teams or owners usually as an owner had to pay a certain amount of money if their team spent too much on the player payroll.
Hmm.
Now there is an additional curtain where if you spend even more money, then your team actually has to deal with some punishments. I don't know all of them, but I know some of them are like now you can't spend the mid-level exception. So that's something that teams usually can do, even when they don't have any salary cap. They get 12 million to spend, but if you spend too much money, you don't get that anymore. And you're I think prevented from trading some draft picks, down the line in the future, like contending teams usually do.
Yeah.
Um, look at the Suns or the Clippers when they traded for Paul George. They traded five, picks in or the Lakers, picks in
Yeah.
2027, 2029. If you spend too much money on your team, you can no longer do that. So, what do you think of those? The salary floor, the second curtain. You think that's a good thing for the NBA? Try to encourage teams to stay in a range of spending.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's a good thing because I've always been um on the side of I've never liked the idea of tanking, number one. I think you have the opportunity to play a sport that you love. You should play to win every time. Um and I like this idea of giving I like that just because teams don't spend money, they're not penalized automatically. They have a chance to spend the money to get players, and like what the Rockets did this year. And the punishing about more like luxury tax teams like Warriors, Lakers, and have had issues. The mid-level exception is a huge bonus for them. I know Lakers signed last year Lonnie Walker, that mid-level exception, Malik Monk the year before, and they were big contributors. So that being penalized, taking that away if they spend too much money will matter. And overall, I do think it's a good thing. I like it, kind of makes the NBA out of all the other federations, it makes it more fair, right? That
Hmm.
like every team has the same kind of budget, no matter if you're in Los Angeles or you're in Salt Lake City. You have this amount of money to spend, and that's how I feel. I mean, what do you think? You did a good job describing it. I know very loose kind of things about that, but how do you
No,
feel?
I think it's a great idea. The thing I would compare it to the most is baseball.
Hmm.
Baseball, the salary caps are pretty much, I, as far as I understand, I'm not a huge baseball guy, but as far as I understand, the salary cap is basically based on, where your team is, who your owner is, what your market is. So teams like the Dodgers, they can have five, essentially max. That's not really like maxes in baseball,
Right.
but five really expensive players that are all really good. Whereas a team like the Texas Rangers can have one or two of those guys because they're in a much smaller market. So it just makes it to
Yeah.
where like the Dodgers are always good, the Yankees are always good. These teams that are in bigger markets and have more money to spend are always better. Whereas what you're saying with basketball, it keeps a level of parity in there. Um,
Absolutely. And I think we're living in a time right now, especially in a great level of parity where we've had different champions the last, 4 years, 4 years, right? Yeah.
I think it's five. I
2019.
think it's five.
Who's 2018? Wasn't it Warriors?
Cavs.
Well, there
Oh,
we
no,
go.
no, you're right. 2018 was Warriors. 2016 was Cavs. Yeah, it's
That's right. I know
Warriors,
something.
Warriors, Raptors, uh,
Lakers, come
Lakers,
on.
Bucks,
Right.
and then the Warriors again,
Warriors
and
again,
then
right. And then
Nuggets. So, only one repeat in the last 6 years.
yeah, so that's great. I love that. As much as I am like a fan of the Lakers and I want them to win, I'm glad the Nuggets won. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like I'm glad the Bucks won. I'm glad Giannis got his championship. Was not happy the Warriors won, but if they didn't win, it was the Celtics. So kind of
Yeah.
tough. But you know, um, now that we're talking about it too, I mentioned the Celtics. And they've been doing really well the last few years, but they've never really got they've been to the finals that year against the Warriors 2022, this year Eastern Conference Finals. And I know there's a lot of talk about if the two Jays can like work together,
Mhm.
to go that far. And we got some news this week regarding that. And do you want to break it? Want to break it
Uh,
down?
break it. I don't know. I think everybody listening to this probably knows. Well, anybody that pays attention to basketball, but yeah. So Jaylen Brown, the I would say the second of the Jays, right? Tatum
Yeah,
first.
agreed. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
got a supermax extension. He was All NBA 13 this year. When you're an All
Second
NBA
team, I think.
player, second team was it
I'm pretty
second.
sure it was second team.
Oh,
That's why he got the super max. That's
well,
what he
I
gets.
think it's any All NBA team. Um,
Yeah, I think it was second, but regardless.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
you're probably right.
he got it on the all
He
on
made
the
an
all.
All
Yeah,
NBA team, and
yeah,
when you make an All NBA team, you're a top 15 player is the idea in the league. Then you qualify to make, I want to say, is 35% of the total cap, um,
crazy.
which is a lot. The more the third, that's a third of the entire team's salary dedicated
Yeah.
to one player, and there's 15 players on the roster. And there's a lot of talk, like Dom said, can Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum make it work together? They've had a lot of success in the playoffs, one finals appearance, lots of conference finals
Hmm.
appearances. They're two wing players, they're kind of similar positions. They both defend well, they both kind of handle the ball. Um,
Yeah.
and Jaylen Brown, he's somebody that has been in trade talks. I know when Kevin Durant requested a trade, the Celtics were interested, and Jaylen Brown was kind of the name there. When Damian Lillard, even requested a trade recently, some people were speculating, oh, Dame for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
So, and he's made comments publicly like, I just want to play where I'm wanted. And
Right.
he says things like that. So it was kind of up in the air. It felt like there was some tension there. Um, and I think even though he signed the Supermax, which I don't know the exact numbers on it, it's
It
the biggest
it would.
contract in NBA history.
Yeah, I think it's 5 years, 305 million, something like that, which is
Yeah,
insane.
big. And yeah,
Yeah.
for people that don't know, it's because the salary cap constantly goes up because the NBA is constantly making more money.
Yeah, it's not
So
like he's the best player. Like,
yeah,
this is why I have to, like, when I used to read this stuff, I was like, oh my God, they think Jaylen Brown's the best player in the league. And it's
yeah.
like, no, it's just because the cap gets bigger and
I
bigger.
mean, I think in the last 5 years we've had five newest, richest
Yeah,
contracts in NBA history. I know the first one was like Mike Conley had like the richest contract in NBA history,
crazy.
and then Jokic had one. Jalen
Yeah,
Brown has one. Basically, anyone
well,
that
I
signs
think,
to the supermax, it becomes the richest contract in NBA history.
yeah. I think LaMelo also signed it too, right? He signed it was
No,
like
he
the
he
biggest
didn't sign the
rookie extension.
supermax. He signed the rookie max. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, but this is Jalen
But still,
Brown's
yeah.
third contract. So he had the rookie contract, then he had the rookie max, and now he has the super max. So
Yeah.
he's under contract for until 2028, I think.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
5 years. Yeah.
with an option there. So it's a big contract. A lot of people are questioning, is he worth the money? I think a lot of people are starstruck by that, that topic, like you said, the headline, "Oh my God, richest contract in NBA history." And that's
Hmm.
just because the money increases. I think,
Exactly. Yeah,
uh,
what do you think? What do you think about the Celtics? And like, I know we were gonna try to kind of go in order, but I think we're talking about it. What do you think
yeah,
about their moves this season, this off season, and in particular Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, well, specifically relating to Jaylen Brown, I think it's something you kind of have to do if you're the Celtics.
Yeah,
I think wings that can defend and ball handle and shoot are like the most valuable thing to have in the NBA. You
yeah,
look at,
right now at least,
like
yeah.
the Kevin Durant's of the world,
Mhm.
things like that. It's like those guys are so hard to find. You can find, I'm not saying it's easy to be a point guard, but there's a lot of really good point guards in the NBA.
Yeah,
And centers are pretty, like aside from Jokic and Embiid, it's like, oh, you can set screens and rebound and roll. Great.
and get an alley oop, and boom, there you
Right.
go. You're in.
So
You can defend. Yeah. So
finding those wing guys really hard. And I think you have to pay, somebody makes an all NBA team, you don't really have a choice. You want to try to keep it together. That being said, I don't think just because he signed the Supermax that he'll be a Celtic on it the entire
yeah,
time.
that's
Um,
what my thoughts were too. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's still a tradable contract. Whether it's a team that, they think they're one move away and they have two kind of big contracts they can piece together for Jaylen Brown, and now they have, a big three that they formed, or something like that. I think, depending on how this year goes for them, he could be traded still because their general offseason, they lost Marcus Smart, um, big core
Mm-hmm.
piece for the Celtics, heart and soul, uh,
DPOY or reigning DPOY.
DPOY, a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. They lost Grant Williams, who was a
Wing defender.
yeah,
Yeah.
good kind of 3-and-D, played, bigger than he is, I think.
Yeah.
He would often be on the court with Rob Williams or Al Horford, so he kind of played as power forward, even though he was only 6'6".
Yeah.
But he was kind of stocky, kind of like PJ Tucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the thing that I thought was interesting that they added Porzingis. They traded for
Right.
Porzingis. He had a really underrated year in Washington. Um,
Yeah. Small
he,
market. People aren't really watching. They weren't one to watch. Bradley Beal was injured a lot of the season, so they weren't really in
yeah,
talks about even making the play in or whatever. But I mean, a lot of those players. I mean, Kuz had a good year. So did yeah, Porzingis, and I think them getting a big man who can shoot obviously is good for them. I think they lost some pieces though, like maybe if they didn't lose Marcus Smart, I'd kind of think they were at the same rate as they were last year, just as good. Porzingis doesn't have that defensive tenacity, that
Mhm.
they had, like, I think at number 5 top rated defense last year. So with him as he's your starting center, I don't know if you're going to be able to keep that. Maybe you can. Maybe he'll be able to do that. But everything else that he does is good. And if he can kind of, I know he moved from Knicks to Mavs, and the Maverick, the Luka Porzingis thing didn't really work out as well, and they shipped him to Washington. But he did well there, and when you have players that make other players better around you, like I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, um, I think it makes them definitely one of the top teams still in the East, even with those losses. I do like Grant Williams, but he wasn't getting like a ton of minutes toward the end
Mhm.
in the playoffs. And um, looking at everyone else that they like lost or gained, and those are definitely like the things that I'm looking at that'll make a difference. How do you feel? How tall is Porzingis? But it's like 7 feet, right?
Porzingis is huge. He's like seven
Yeah.
four. He's
Oh my
massive.
God. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he's
It's very
like up
tall.
there. He's
Yeah.
seven. I think I want to say 7'3" actually is like how tall he is.
Yeah, because
Um,
before, like, I mean, was Al Horford the tallest, like 6'11", 6'10", like not even.
yeah, their front court was definitely undersized.
Yeah,
Al
so this
Horford,
helps.
Rob Williams, they're both like 6'9", I think. Like they're both
Hmm.
on the shorter side for big men.
Yeah,
And I think, Rob Williams, I think hopefully will start with Porzingis,
and no
is what I think would
injuries.
make the sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna get
please.
there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you have, Rob at the 5, he's a great defender. He can
yeah.
make up for some of those Porzingis kind of plays the 4, but probably guards other centers. So,
Right. Yeah, yeah,
um, and then you have Tatum and Brown at the wing positions, and then your point guard is probably Brogdon or Derek White, depending on
yeah, yeah,
who you want
yeah.
to start.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
know which one they would rather bring off the bench. I know he's Brogdon's reigning sixth man of the year, but
yeah.
either one of them are going to do what needs to be done, as a starter.
Yeah, and then I think, aside from that, a couple underrated pickups. O'Shea Brissett from the
Yeah,
Pacers. I actually like. I think he can maybe fill some of that Grant Williams void. I'm not saying
right.
he's, as good of a player, but hopefully can spot some of those minutes. And then, we watched Summer League. Jordan Walsh, I thought was pretty good in Summer League.
Yeah, no, I watched one of it was against the Lakers, actually the first Lakers loss of Summer League, and he went off. He went really good. He was just making those threes, and I don't know how many rookies the Celtics kind of play. I think it depends
Yeah,
on
if he gets
um
any time, yeah.
if he gets any playing time, but he did really well in Summer League, and hopefully he gets a shot. Maybe in the middle of the season, like it just gets some running time just to see uh how good he can be, on the court, and excited to see like what he can do. And yeah,
Yeah,
so how do you feel, or what are you gonna
I,
say?
I was say you're kind of hinting at it earlier. Biggest concern for this team is the health.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Brogdon has a lot of health concerns. Jaylen Brown, I think he had like a hurt wrist in the playoff last year. He broke
Yeah,
his arm in the playoffs before that.
yeah,
Porzingis obviously has had a lot of injury concern throughout his career. Rob Williams has been
probably.
injured a lot.
Yeah, Horford
Al Horford
has,
is a
yeah.
million years old, so if healthy, if healthy, I think
Exactly.
top two,
Yeah.
three seed easily. But uh, yeah, what did you grade this offseason from the
You know,
Celtics?
I think they did well. I think they just might have lost a bit too much for what they gained. So I'd probably give it like a B plus,
B
something
plus,
like that.
okay. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking B,
yeah.
B plus. I was thinking that area as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this makes sense. I think their floor might be a little lower, but
Yeah.
their ceiling might be a little higher.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, we
Um,
just don't know how this team's gonna run. So
right.
get a little better idea after they get a couple games under them, and we see how Porzingis fits into this. I'm just really interested about their defense, because that was always what impressed me by watching them, is just how good they were at stopping really good offensive teams. So let's see. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm sure health willing, they'll make a run like they have the last few years. They have a great coach that they're keeping around, and got a great GM in Brad Stevens. So
Have you heard the story about Joe Mazzulla watching The Town? Have you heard that?
the movie The Town.
That he watched it before like every playoff game. It's like his favorite movie.
Does it help? I've seen The Town. It's not. Have you seen The Town?
I don't even know what that is.
It's just it's a heist movie. It takes place in
Yeah.
Boston. It's like doesn't even like I some movies I would understand. Like I heard what it was LeBron's like he would watch The Godfather or something, like to get
Oh
in like the
God.
mood or something. I understand like watching films like that, but The Town is very much like it's just about like two lifelong friends that get caught up in this like heist robbery, and I mean whatever works for him, but um maybe he should change the movie and they'll make it to the finals. I don't know. But
So the quote is Joe Mazzulla really likes The Town. He watches it 4 times a week.
that's the quote.
That's what like somebody talked to him apparently.
I really like The Town. I
And
watched it four times.
he quotes it like in the locker room and stuff. Like it's kind of funny. All right, moving on.
That's yeah. Let's move past The Town, man. I don't know about that.
So yeah, we spent a good amount of time there in the Celtics. I do want to say real quick, some teams I think like the Celtics made a lot of significant moves and they're
Yeah,
really relevant. So we might talk about them for 5 minutes. Some teams they may have not done much. We may talk about them for 30 seconds just because they haven't
yeah,
done much.
like the Hornets, but we'll get
Um,
there.
all right, so moving on, I'm gonna just go through alphabetical order,
Yeah, let's
which
do it.
we'll start with the Hawks. They lost John Collins.
Finally, I mean,
Finally,
been what,
he's been
like
on the trade
3 years?
block
I've heard about it
forever.
all. Yeah,
And then they lost a bunch of people that didn't really play much anyways. And then they added Wesley Matthews, which I thought was interesting.
I
Uh,
think that's a good one. And
Patty
I did,
Mills.
yeah, Patty Mills. I didn't know. I think that honestly is a good backup point guard for another ball handler besides Trey Young, besides DeJounte. Patty Mills was pretty good on the Nets. He didn't get a lot of playing time recently, but he did really well. He did really well on the Australian national team too. Like he has the ability. I
Yeah.
know he got traded, was it originally to Houston, right?
It was
And
to
then
Houston, and then it was to OKC, and then it was to Atlanta. Yeah, it
you
was
know,
crazy.
he doesn't fit their timelines, which I understand. I couldn't see him getting any time next to in with the Rockets or the Thunder. I just didn't see that. So I see, a good backup point guard for the Hawks. And yeah, besides that, DeJounte got that contract extension.
Mhm.
So he got a bag. So I mean, do you think, I know we only had 1 year of the experiment of the backcourt of Trae Young and DeJounte, and I think they had room for improvement, but how do you feel about that backcourt still? Do you think they still can make a run, or do you think they're kind of like in this limbo now, or
Yeah, I think if we're just talking about backcourt, I think Trae Young, if he's going to be a, you know, championship point guard or whatever, I think someone
Mhm.
like DeJounte Murray is who you need to have next to him.
Yeah,
Um, Someone who can take over some of the ball handling duties, but someone that can also kind of cover
defend.
his defensive mishaps because Trae Young, for as long as he's been in the league, has been one of the worst defenders in the NBA because he's 6 foot tall and weighs 95 pounds or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
so I think someone like DeJounte is good. I think the contract he's on, again, I'm not a numbers guy. I don't have the numbers in my head, but when I looked at it, I was like, that's a good value. It's
yeah.
not like a max or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's good value for, he's been a one-time All-Star when he was in, kind of the guy at San Antonio. So I think that backcourt itself can work. I think where their team gets a little tricky is the wing position. They've had
Yeah,
a lot of injuries. They didn't really do anything aside from Trey John Collins, who I think
right.
after years and years and years, they dealt him for pennies. They didn't really get back
Really. Yeah,
anything. They just kind of got him off of the team, which sucks. I think, their year they had a really long playoff run. They went to
yeah.
the Eastern Conference Finals. They made Ben Simmons quit basketball or whatever.
He's still trying, I think.
He was a really big part of that team. He grew a
Yeah,
lot as a defender. He defended a lot of bigs. He obviously is an incredible lob threat for pick and
yeah.
rolls. I think, his 3-point shot has been off and on, but in that playoff run, it was really good. Um, and then, what also surprised me, they drafted 3 guys, and I think it's weird to me because Trae Young is kind of getting into his prime. DeJounte is kind of getting into his prime. Capella's on the older side. And then they have some younger guys like Hunter and Okongwu, but
Yeah.
using all 3 draft picks just doesn't make sense to me. And of course, these guys still could get moved, but going to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago and then having 2 first-round exits back to back the last couple of years, I just feel like trying to pair those picks or those young guys and maybe getting another kind of star or something.
Or just a good role player, like a
Just a
good
guy,
wing.
yeah.
Yeah, I know they signed Wesley Matthews, which is like going to cover that wing,
How,
but what is
yeah,
he? Isaac is 38.
yeah.
You
How
know,
much PT will he get?
exactly. So, I really wish they would have, like you said, used those. I think they drafted well. I heard Kobe Buffkin's a good pick, but you know, is he really going to play?
Right.
Is really what you want to think about, and at least moving up in the draft, or just using those picks to find another wing to complement DeJounte and Trey, and the other guys. I mean, I like the young guys they have, like Okongwu. I like DeAndre Hunter. I know he was like off
Injured a
and on,
lot.
like, yeah, injured a lot. But when he's playing well, he's played really well. I like Bogdanovich a lot, but also injured. But when he's good, he's really good for them. Fits, I think, what like they need. Clint Capella is reliable, although he has some injury issues too, right? If I remember.
Yeah, he had a year where he was just not kind of off and on, and since he's been back, he's kind of regressed in terms of his
Yeah,
defensive capability.
definitely not defensive, but he definitely can run the rim and lob threat. What when you have someone like Trey on the team, like definitely want. So as they did lose John Collins, and I think I it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the new CBA ruling. That's why they did it. They wanted to get rid of the money that was
Hmm.
going to be owed to him so they could spend money, but they didn't spend it. That's like the weird thing about it. Maybe they tried to get some
I
people
mean,
and
they,
it just
they
didn't
did
work
re-sign
out.
DeJounte, so that'll hurt him less in the future.
Right, right. Yeah. But maybe I just kind of wish they used more money to try, or less picks to try and get, someone else to like kind of beef it up. Because right now, if you compare to last year, I don't really see a big change. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're basically the same team they were last year.
Yeah, kind of a lower seed play-in kind of
Yeah, like
situation
how
possibly.
do you expect to make that? Was that just a one-time thing, or can they find the magic in that again? Was that 2021, right? I
Yeah,
think that, yeah,
yeah.
they made that run. So, that's the biggest questions for me. I mean, how do you feel overall, the Hawks did this?
Overall, I would give the Hawks, I don't know, probably like honestly like a C minus. I
I was
just
gonna say
thought
the
like,
same thing. Yeah.
man, you lost John Collins for nothing. You picked a bunch of young guys. You already have a bunch of young guys. Like, what direction is your team going? Are you trying to get better? Or are you trying? I don't think they're a rebuilding team. They're not the Magic. They're not
Yeah.
the Pistons. So like, why are we not trying to make more moves? I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I would give him like a C, C minus, something like that. But we'll see how the season plays out, and hopefully the injuries don't uh, ruin their wing depth and whatnot. And Wesley Matthews has issues too. So if they were trying to get a reliable wing, that's not the guy. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see with the Hawks.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to
We got the
the Brooklyn
uh,
Nets.
Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, so I think notable losses for them. Seth Curry, good shooter, good floor spacer. He signed with the
Yeah,
Mavericks.
I like that signing a lot. By the way, I
Yeah.
don't know why the Mavericks ever let him go, but
And they also lost Yuta the shooter. He was really good. 3-point shooter on their team. But I think,
yeah,
some of these are okay, especially Seth Curry. Obviously they traded KD, they traded Kyrie. They're kind of in a weird limbo. Are we rebuilding? What are we kind of doing phase? So losing some older players like Seth Curry, Joe Harris, I think is fine.
yeah.
Um, and then they signed Darius Baisley, who,
Mhm.
young guy who's been on a couple teams, kind of, see what he can do maybe. And then they drafted three guys. I think the one that sticks out to me is Dariq Whitehead. He kind of was up and down in the projections.
Mhm.
And then they also signed Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith, and then extended Cam Johnson on a pretty good value contract. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
considering everything they added and re-signing Cam Johnson, and I think they had I wish they had picked more of a direction. I think they're obviously not going to a rebuild because then they would have probably tried to like offload more players
Hmm.
instead of like signing Lonnie Walker and drafting and extending Cam Johnson. But considering after all the trades last year with Kyrie, KD, they got just rid of the big three, their super team. They weren't bad. You know what I mean? They got swept by the Sixers, but those are all close games. And they were only a team for like half a season, and they were able to keep it close. And they still got Mikal Bridges. You have the wings that you need. I think the one thing that they always try to address, but they never could find a fit, was the center position. I like Claxton a lot, but there needs to be someone else that can. Uh, yeah, Claxton as a starter isn't bad, but if you can get like a better center, to start, not a bad idea. But getting someone like Lonnie Walker, ball handler. They have Dinwiddie. He's older, but he had flashes on the Mavs and everything. And I don't think it was by any means like a bad off season for them. You could talk about them losing Joe Harris. I think they're just trying to, offload his money because he was owed quite a bit of money. But I think that worked out for the Nets and the Pistons. I think it makes both teams in different ways better, like for what they're looking for right now. I don't know if you feel differently, but I think that wasn't like a bad decision by any means. But They didn't really address it though with other signings. Like none of the guys that they got um are like 3-point shooters. They still do have Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson who are great. So
Yeah,
you know,
I'd push back a little bit on Claxton. I think Claxton can be pretty good. I like his defense a lot.
no, I like I not to say I like them a lot. I
Uh-huh.
do, but they just need someone else too. You know, like they need either a backup or they need just someone that does little bit more or
Yeah,
pushes. I don't, yeah, but I
I
do
see what
like
you're saying.
Claxton.
Someone that,
Yeah.
a different kind of center to
Hmm.
complement,
Hmm.
when he's not on the floor or something. I see.
Exactly.
Yeah, I said earlier like they didn't really have a direction, and I guess it's difficult because they don't have most of their picks. We have most of their picks, the Rockets.
Yeah,
So
they do.
it's like, from the Harden trade. So it's like not a ton of value in tanking because the Rockets have, I think, mostly unprotected picks or pick swaps. So they kind of should try to be good. They just lost their two best players, or they traded their two best players. So they're obviously not contending. They're not contending status, but there's no reason for them to try to tank for the draft because there is no draft. Um, so I
Yeah.
think, like people like Baisley, Dennis Smith, people that have kind of struggled on multiple teams, giving them a chance, seeing what you can develop. I think that that's kind of the right thing to do.
Mhm.
When your team is kind of in this limbo status, I think Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, like you mentioned, will probably get a lot more opportunity to kind of see what they can do. They've been, they're complementary players on the Suns, but they can have more of a leading role here and see if they can develop Mikal Bridges. I mean, I think he was averaging like 30 at the second half of last year after he
Oh
got
yeah. He
so
was going off. Yeah, yeah. It was good to see because like I know you're a big fan of Mikal Bridges. I love this good, 3-and-D wings and big fan of Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. And I'm excited to see, they have a chance to shine in Brooklyn. And I do think they're missing like maybe one or two pieces to be contenders, like just like more of a superstar player, Not saying that like getting rid of Kyrie and KD wasn't the right move. I think it was. I just don't think it was working. But I think using this year to, see what works and then next year evaluate a direction that they want to go into. And yeah, I think their offseason wasn't bad, considering everything. So they have no picks, like you said. So might as well, do your best. I think they got some good deals. They got Lonnie on a good deal, Dennis Smith on a good deal. There's upside, these are players that people had doubts about, but now they can kind of prove themselves more. I know Lonnie did. He got the Los Angeles shine, so to speak.
right.
He got that public national attention. But I think he's going to be a good contributor too because he definitely is a starter capable. And then I'm excited to see what the other players do that they got. You know,
Yeah. What are you grading it? I'm probably saying like a B. The
I was
B.
gonna say B. Yeah,
B.
B. Yeah, just
Kind of.
because with no direction, like what else can I really, give them?
Yeah.
But now we're going to talk about a team whose off season was, you know, leaves room to be desired. Charlotte Hornets. Is that who you have next to on yours?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's weird because there's the biggest question mark for me still is Kelly Oubre. Like he's still a free agent. He's not signed to anybody yet right now. So
Mhm.
is he going to be re-signed? Someone else will probably pick him up at this point since he's not being re-signed. Um, think, probably the biggest thing about their off season is that they did get LaMelo on the rookie max extension. It's probably like the biggest move they did, besides Michael Jordan selling the Hornets. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I did. I did. But
Yeah.
I don't
So
think either of those things are the biggest move.
wait, okay. I have an idea. I have an idea what I think is the biggest move. Well, you say it. What do you think?
I think the biggest move,
'Cause there's
and
two I'm thinking.
also the biggest mistake that the
Yeah, okay.
Hornets
Okay,
made this offseason
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
was drafting Brandon Miller number 2 instead of Scoot Henderson because Scoot Henderson looks awesome and Brandon Miller looked okay. We watched multiple
Yeah.
Summer League Hornets games and his shot was kind of inconsistent. Defense was good. He was getting in passing lanes and stuff. Size, he's like 6'9" and he can dribble and handle and like we said
Yeah,
earlier about Jaylen Brown, that's really desirable skill
he
to
was.
have in the NBA.
Yeah, he was quick in the full court. He had a couple of like highlight dunks,
Hmm.
but they still lost the games that we saw that they
Yeah.
played. So yeah.
I,
Yeah. So do you think just Scoot was a better pick overall
yeah,
instead
I
of
think
Brandon Miller?
what the Hornets did was try to draft for fit, which is always the wrong move. I think
Yeah,
drafting the best player available is pretty much the right move, unless you're a team like, you know, the Bucks who are planning on winning the championship. But I think when you're young and rebuilding, you just draft the best guy. And I think
yeah,
Scoot was clearly the best guy behind Victor. Uh,
yeah.
I
I do agree.
remember when I was researching a long, long time ago, it was like Scoot Henderson would be the number one pick in any other draft that didn't have Victor and Wembanyama. Um, so I think, it's basically like you had two number one picks and you had a chance to get one of them, but you took this guy instead, who I'm not saying Brandon Miller is going to be bad. I mean, I actually liked what he did at Alabama last year. I think he can be a really good player. I just think the ceiling is probably higher for Scoot. And when you're a young team in a small market like the Hornets, you really got to shoot for those ceiling players that are going to lift you. Like I think Brandon Miller, probably comes in and contributes more right away, but in the long run, I think Scoot kind of has the, superstar guard potential. And
Yeah, I mean a backcourt with LaMelo and Scoot would have been.
and I think that would have been fine.
It would have been. It would have been
Lamelo's
fun.
six
Yeah,
seven. Like it's not like he's short. So
yeah.
it's not like Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. It's a tall guy at least. That Lamelo
No.
doesn't play any defense, but he is tall at least. And I
Yeah, yeah,
think
and you develop them into being a better backcourt together. I totally agree with you that you draft for. I mean, you can talk about when the Warriors drafted Wiseman. It's like, oh, I
right,
guess we should draft him because he's
that
a
was a
center and
fit
we don't have a
pick.
center.
Yeah,
Exactly, and how that turned out. So
and you know who
and
was
look
on
at
the
Anthony,
board when they
or it
drafted
was
Wiseman?
LaMelo. That's what it
Lamelo.
was. Yeah, yeah. I forgot Anthony Edwards went number one, which
Mhm.
was good for the Wolves. Anyways, but no, I agree with you. I hope all the best for Brandon Miller. Like he is a wing, and that's needed in this NBA. But I just think they should have went with you. You would have made the backcourt of LaMelo and Scoot work. You would have found out um what their strengths are and then how they could complement each other. Like that's just what you would have had to do, and it would have been fine. And the thing is, it's not like the Hornets are not contending right now as they are anyways. So it's like, why try to draft for fit? Like you were saying, the Bucks would draft for fit or the Suns draft for fit, not the Hornets. But what's done is done, right? They're gonna get Miles Bridges back, most likely.
Yeah,
I
he
have
accepted his qualifying offer. He's
He
suspended
did.
for 30 games though. He's suspended no 10. He got a 30 game suspension. They counted 20 of them for last year because he didn't play last year. So I think he's suspended the first 10 games of this year.
Got it.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, he's back.
so he's been out of the league, what, 2 years? A
Just
year?
last year.
Only 1 year. Okay. Feels
You know
longer. I don't
why?
know why. Yeah, I know why.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I remember reading all about that. And it's tough to talk about
Tough to
because
talk
obviously
about. Yeah.
it's obviously like, I don't agree with what he may or may not have done. I can't remember how it ended up. I think they settled out of court. So I don't know if anyone was declared guilty or anything, but still allegations like that are not to be taken lightly. But if the NBA is getting him, allowing him to be back in the league and whatnot, then we just have to evaluate what it is. And what it is that he's going to be on the Hornets next year.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played for a year. Whom I liked him, like he was a good player before, and he had, you know, potential to be signing a big, getting that bag, but um, sometimes people make bad decisions. So, we'll see. I'm how do you feel? I mean, I'm curious to see. I just don't the Hornets, like I want them to be good. I
Yeah.
do, and they made the play in not last year, but the year before, and they
Hmm.
made the playoffs the year before, I think, right? Or I can't remember the
I want to
details.
say they were like two. I want to say they had like two play-in eliminations. Like they
Yeah,
didn't
that's
make it to the
exactly.
actual playoffs.
I forgot how long the play has been going on. That's what it was. And like that means they just want to take that next step. You keep making the plan. They got rid of their coach. They got a new coach. Cool. That's
Don't
fine.
don't like the coach they have.
Who is it? I don't know who it is.
Steve Clifford,
I know the name.
former Magic coach.
I don't know who he is. So I can't say. He wasn't
He's
the coach
not a.
last year,
I
was
don't
he?
think he's a good rebuild. He's like a win coach. He's gonna try to go out there and he's gonna play the guys who thinks wins rather than
Yeah.
try to get everybody some time and develop, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
I will
Well,
touch on. Sorry, go ahead.
no, please, Damon, continue.
I was just to say you said Kelly Oubre earlier, who
Yeah.
probably not likely coming back to the Hornets.
Yeah.
Because he's unrestricted. However, PJ Washington is out there. I thought he was really good.
Yeah.
Kind of
I'm
a
surprised.
pick and roll, pick and pop floor spacer. He is restricted, so they can match him, but they didn't give him an offer sheet. I'm surprised. I thought he was good for that team. Um,
I
and
wonder
then
if they're waiting, like sometimes they're waiting to see if anyone offers them something. That way they're not going to offer too much,
mhm.
which you could argue I know, like, we'll talk about the Bulls, but that's like with Ayo DeSumo, like they just gave him without any other offers. They just gave him like not a big contract, but maybe more than what he was worth. Good
Well,
for him, but
that's different because he was a second round pick, so he was unrestricted.
well, and this is why you're here. But anyways, what you said is a very good point.
And then the last thing, I thought Nick Smith was really good in summer league when we watched him.
He was
He almost brought the Hornets back in that one game, just single handedly. Was just
was
bucket after bucket.
Blazers. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a Blazers against that was against without Scoot.
without Scoot. Yeah,
Yeah. But I mean they did, yeah, they were Blazers were up, and then yeah, they were like Nick Smith's number was called. It was not
yeah.
Brandon Miller. So yeah.
I thought he showed lots of flashes. Drafted at 27. I think that's good value. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about the team. I think they have a lot of young, exciting pieces that need to get some playing time, need to get some reps in, and the Hornets just kind of need to figure out what they have.
Yeah.
Who's on their team is going to be worth staying because I think they have probably 7, 8 young guys that are all, lottery picks that they kind of have to figure out what to do with.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree. And I like watching these young teams when they're trying to figure stuff out, but I know like the fans can get frustrated. So I'm curious to see. I'm curious to know what like Hornets fans feel like, after years of kind of this like weird um purgatory that they're in.
I don't think they
Um
have any fans.
I've met a lot of people from North Carolina here, and they have a few fans, mostly
Okay.
because their tickets are like $4. So but I mean, with somebody like LaMelo signed,
hmm
um he's a good player, obviously. So like it's not like the future's dim, like the future can be bright for them. So I just hope that they, capitalize on that, and make use of who they have and try to bring in players that can make that future work. Um,
Would you grade them?
oh man, it's tough. C minus, D
C.
plus.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
C plus, really just because the Brandon Miller pick. I
Yeah, that and also like they didn't really address anything else. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like they had good picks. Like they said Nick Smith, and but like besides that, I mean they didn't really address anything else. So yeah, they still have Gordon Hayward though. So
We'll see if he ever plays.
yeah. Um so looks like we're gonna talk about the Bulls next.
Bulls, yeah.
Which I touched on just a little bit
Can,
before, but
can I be really honest?
yeah.
Really hate what the Bulls are doing. Uh,
Really, really. Can I guess what the biggest thing you hated was?
sure.
The Vucevic re-signing.
Yeah, it is part of that.
Yeah,
I mean, this team, they have a quote unquote big three with Vucevic,
right.
DeMar, Zach LaVine. The year they had Lonzo, healthy, they were really good until the All-Star break. And of course, Lonzo, terrible personal knee issues. He's had like 4 surgeries on it. He might not play basketball again. That's terrible. There's nothing you can do about that. We wish the best for Lonzo.
Absolutely.
Um, because they were very exciting, and Lonzo was a big part of that. But
Mm-hmm.
since he went down, they've had a couple of, I think, first round exits basically.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even think they make the playoffs. I don't think they even made the
No, they were
playoffs.
in the play-in,
They're in the
and then
play-in.
they beat the Heat, and then they lost to no. They beat the Heat to make it as the seventh seed. I'm pretty
No,
sure.
is that what happened?
No. You're right. No,
Oh,
yeah. Because then the remember no
they
no
beat the Raptors, I
they
thought.
beat the Raptors. I remember,
Yeah.
yeah, because DeMar
DeMar's
DeRozan's
daughter.
daughter
Yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
was screaming, and then they played the Heat, and then yeah,
They
that's what,
lost.
yeah, they didn't
So
make it.
it's 2 years ago they got killed by the Bucks. This year they get don't even make the playoffs, but they still want to make the push with Zach LaVine, DeMar, Vucevic. I don't get it. I think, and you look back at that trade for Vucevic, the Magic with those 2 picks have picked Franz Wagner and Jet Howard. So it's like,
And they
man,
gave up Wendell Carter, right?
and
I
Wendell
think.
Carter, who is pretty
Uh,
good. So it's
that's
like,
good.
I mean, I think they should just cut their losses. I think they have a young guy in Patrick Williams. They should try to develop. I think Kobe
Yeah,
White is young enough that you can kind of keep him on, and they just re-signed him. Ayo Dosunmu, like you mentioned, I think
yeah,
he's second round pick a couple years ago. He's young. I think you can develop him, but DeMar, Zach, Vucevic, I think like we got to move on from that. We got to cut your losses. You gave up
yeah,
picks. It's not going to work. I don't think there's anything they can do to that team to make it work. So I would just like I'm giving their offseason like an F just because they didn't. I think that's the clear direction they needed to go, and they are going to
yeah,
keep these 3 guys. DeMar's in the last year of his deal. There's, in my mind, there's a 0% chance they even make it to the second round of the NBA playoffs. So it's like, what's the point of doing all this?
yeah. No, I agree with you. I think everything changes if why am I blanking on his name? We just said his name. Not
Lonzo,
Ball Lonzo. Yeah, if Lonzo's not injured,
yeah,
then everything's different. But the thing is, this is the reality we have to live with, right? And they know this. They know that he's probably not going to play this year. Hopefully, we'll play basketball again because he does a lot of things that is fun to watch and great player and all the best. But I agree with you, and I mean they addressed some. They got Javon Carter, maybe a little overpaid, but like he was good on the Bucks last year. And they got Torrey Craig, who's someone I like quite a bit,
yeah.
3D guy. But the thing is, he's a role player. He's
I
not,
like both of those. Yeah.
yeah, but they're not, it's not pushing you to this. They're also in a different way that the Hornets are in a purgatory. The Bulls are also in a purgatory. Like they're not
Hmm.
gonna advance past the first round if they make the first round of the playoffs. I mean,
Yeah.
even they have health issues with Levine being out for some time, Vucevic out sometimes. So like,
I mean, I even think the Hornets are in a better position because they got young talent that they're trying to build. The
and they have
Bulls just
picks.
got
Yeah.
some old guys that they're trying to run with. It's like I don't get it.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that they re-signed Vucevic. And yeah, I think they're kind of being a dead horse at this point too. I don't know why they're just trying to drag it out another year. Like you said, it's the last year on DeMar's contract, so we'll see. I give them like a D. I'm not gonna. I don't think anyone failed.
They
I just
failed.
can't. I just can't. But I agree with you. I think they just um their their ceiling's not higher than last year, and their floor is lower. You know,
Yeah,
which is
playing team.
unfortunate. Yeah,
Maybe a 7 seed, maybe an 8 seed. Yeah, that's
that's
about it.
yeah. Anyways, we'll just move on past that. It makes me sad. I want the Bulls to be good.
All right, next we have a big off season
Big off season
for
for the
the
Cavs.
the
Yeah.
Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost a bunch of players that didn't play and don't really matter. Um,
Yeah,
except Chetty. I like Chetty.
that's the biggest
I
loss.
was like,
Chetty.
I
I
like,
like
yeah,
Chesney
I
quite a
thought he was
bit.
gonna be like a Cavs lifer, like he seemed like
Yeah,
one of those guys. Um, but they had Amani Bates, who they drafted, who I told you about at Summer League,
yeah,
was one of the best players in his high school class. Then he struggled with some character issues, kind of fell off a little bit. But he looked really good in Summer
he
League.
looked really good.
So
Summer league. Him and
hopefully he
Sam
can
Merrill, yeah, looked
him and
really good.
yeah, him and Sam Merrill, who's not actually on the team.
Yeah, I'll never forget, but it's crazy. Isn't that I mean, he just bucket after
Just
bucket,
raining
but
threes.
yeah, but no, yeah, Amani Bates looked really good summer league.
And then the,
And
I think with the Cavs, it's been clear a lot since they made the Donovan Mitchell trade. They have Garland Mitchell, and then they have Mobley Allen. Who do we put in the middle?
yeah,
They signed
Okoro,
George Niang and Max Strus.
which will
So
address that. Yeah, yeah,
two good wing guys I think can help them. They can both shoot the ball pretty well, which you kind of need to surround because Mobley's shot hasn't been great. Allen is not a shooter at all.
yeah.
So they need someone else aside from Garland Mitchell who can shoot. Okoro, like you said, it has been he was drafted I think number 5 a couple of years
5-5.
ago.
Yeah.
And he struggled. He had really good defense in college at I want to say Virginia. I think it's actually Auburn though. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, he was a great defender, just doesn't have that jump shot,
his
but
jump
that
shot,
threat that you want. Yeah.
there's a stat. I don't remember if we talked about this stat. There's a stat where like his threes, he has an average of like 6.2 feet from like the nearest defender uh on
Oh,
his
like the
threes.
most wide open
So he was like
threes.
the most wide open threes in the NBA, and he just couldn't hit them. And
Could
he
yeah.
had like one year I think where he was pretty good, but every other year has been inconsistent. And when you have someone like Darius, someone like Donovan, and Allen Mobley kind of clog up the paint, you need somebody to be able to kind of kick off to in the corners, and
Base the floor. Yeah.
hopefully Strus or Niang, one of those guys can help out with that. They re-signed Levert as well,
Yeah,
um,
which
on
I
a
like.
good
I
deal.
mean,
It was a good
yeah,
deal.
yeah, I like Levert quite a bit. Felt bad that he was kind of tossed around a little bit from Nets to like Rockets, but then with the deal, like went to Cavs with Jared Allen. So
Indiana. He was in Indiana for a little bit.
Indiana, right? Yeah, and exactly. I knew there
For
was something more.
Oladipo,
And then he had the the health issue, so I'm glad he's healthy. But yeah, I like Levert a lot on the Cavs as backup to obviously it's Spida and Darius. Max Strus, I never even heard about him until this year.
that's crazy.
And yeah, I know. I mean, same as Gabe Vincent. Like, I'm very happy for those two guys. Obviously, maybe it's a bit of an overpay, I think, but he's gonna help. He's definitely a person that's going to help this Cavs team now. I liked what I saw from Niang on the Sixers. I thought he was one of the better watching them in the playoffs. He was one of the brighter spots. He made his threes and definitely going to help the Cavs. I like what they did. And like, said like they lost Chetty Osman.
Mhm.
But was, that's like the biggest thing. And if that's the biggest thing, that's not that bad of an off season, I think. They got to retain the most important people, like we said earlier. And yeah, I think I want to see. I hopefully they can push more than last year. I know last year they got knocked out early by the Knicks, and
Mhm.
um,
Good regular season, and then they got dominated in the first round.
yeah. But I think this year will be better. I think this is going to be like a better year for them, and I'm excited to see what they do. I like seeing the Cavs good, and they turned it around really quickly too after LeBron left. So it's nice to see that. And I'd probably give them, A minus. I
A
think.
minus. Yeah, I was thinking B
Yeah,
plus, so I think
yeah,
we're right around the same range.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's good. I'm excited to see what they do with everyone that they got this year. Yeah. So next we got one of my personal favorite teams to watch. I mentioned this in the last pod. Damon's got the shirt. So we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks real quick. Um, a couple of people that they lost. They traded Bertans to the Thunder just
Good.
to offload his contract. Good.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
bad contract.
Bad contract. Why did the
Unplayable.
Wizards ever sign him to that? I'll never know. They lost him. They traded Reggie Bullock to
Yeah.
the Spurs.
Actual good player.
Actual good player. Yeah, I know like his hair leaves room to be desired,
His
but
worst hair in the NBA, I would
uh
say.
we can say that. It's okay. But good player, and I mean he'll help the Spurs. I mean, I don't think he fits the timeline by any means, but that's definitely a loss. And also Christian Wood is another person. There's a lot of
One of the
talk right
biggest free
now.
agents. Yeah.
Yeah, still out there. And I know there's a lot of talk about my Lakers getting him. I don't know about that. I want someone a bit more defensive minded. I don't think
Yeah.
we need someone like that on our team, but we'll see what happens with him.
When he was a Rocket, he had some kind of locker room issues, complaining, playing
Yeah,
time. So some kind of like some character issue stuff that's been a big talk about like teams, like young teams don't really want him because most young teams have kind of young bigs they're trying to develop. And
right.
then the teams like the Lakers, like you said, they're trying to contend or are worried that someone like he might kind of mess up the chemistry. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. He's kind of just floating in limbo now.
I'm sure he'll get signed. Like he'll find somewhere because he can be an offensive threat. I liked what I saw
Mhm.
when he was on the Rockets. Mavericks could have done more, I think. Coming off the bench was probably the right choice for him. But, good offensive player. Um, Whatever this locker room stuff is, I hope he would work on it because I want him to get playing time. I hope he gets to play the game and somewhere that, he finds a fit. But everything you brought up, I understand why Mavericks aren't going to bring him back. But those are the losses. But they did get Seth Curry back, and I liked Seth Curry quite a bit.
Need
Another
shooting
person
with
space,
Luca. Yeah.
absolutely, and you got one of the best shooters in the game,
Hmm.
so that worked out. I don't know how I feel about this one. Rashawn Holmes, they got Rashawn
Yeah.
Holmes, and you
Didn't get any
know,
playing time on the Kings, which I thought was interesting
yeah, the
because I
Kings
thought he was
didn't
good
have
a
a
couple years ago.
yeah. I think he still can be good, and I think they're gonna take a chance having him on the team. I think they re-signed Dwight Powell,
Yeah,
so
was gonna say it. It feels like they're just kind of throwing people out there trying to figure out because they've been running Dwight Powell at center for like 5 years, and I have no idea how that's still
yeah,
possible. So
yeah,
they're like, let's get Rashawn Holmes. They also drafted Derek Lively, and it's like
right,
let's find somebody to be the center of this team. They signed
yeah.
JaVale McGee and promised him the starting center job last offseason, and that didn't work. So
He fell out. Yeah.
they're they're just
Ever
trying
si-
to find an answer.
yeah, ever since they lost Porzingis, they've really been trying to fill that void at center, I feel like. But you know, besides the center position, they need shooting wings, and they got Grant Williams, sign and
Yep,
trade in the Celtics. I
good
think
deal.
good move.
Yeah,
Good move. I like his defensive tenacity. He puts it out on the floor. I think that's the kind of guy you need around Luca. And I mean, they re-signed Kyrie.
big
Um,
big deal.
a
Really
big
surprising.
deal, really. So, but I feel like last year they got on the last year of his deal, and they were, pretty solidly like fifth or sixth place in the West, and they got Kyrie, and then they just totally fell
And
out.
they totally fell crazy.
Which
They
is
tanked.
it's
And it cost them to keep their pick, which is wild.
yeah. Um, but I understand that they're doubling down on him. They're not going to let him walk for nothing now.
Right.
They don't. I don't think they want a team with Luca and no other star.
Hmm.
So, I don't mind this trade. I think they're going to work it out. I'm curious to see. It's an interesting backcourt. There's no defense,
Hmm.
but their offensive capabilities through the roof because you got the playmaking of Luca, and you have one of the best, just slithery point guards in the game in Kyrie. So, um, it'll be interesting season to see. I don't know. Do you think they're going to be better than last year?
Yeah, I
Like,
think
okay, let's say better than when they started last year,
when they
because when they
started.
did, yeah, like so when they still had Dorian Finney-Smith and
Right.
Reggie Bullock, like, do you think they're going to be better now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dorian Finney-Smith is one of my favorite Mavericks. It sucks they lost him in the Kyrie trade. I think Grant Williams could hopefully fulfill some of that kind of three and
yeah,
D, you know, power forward, small forward kind of build. Hopefully he can do some of that. I think the Mavericks really like Josh Green. He's really young.
Yeah.
He's only like
Hmm.
21, 22. I think they're probably hoping for a jump there, hoping he can get more playing time than he has in the past. I think, Luca and Kyrie now they have added playing time together. I've heard reports that Luca's in like the best shape uh that he has been in the offseason because usually he kind of goes out of shape and um takes him a while to kind of ramp up when the season starts. But if he kind
Yeah.
of comes in more in shape, and Kyrie, doesn't promote anti-Semitism or something.
That'd be great. That'd be great, Kyrie.
that'd,
How
that'd
about
be pretty
that?
good for them.
Yeah.
So it's like I think they'll come in with a stronger head on their shoulders, kind of taking it more seriously is what I would hope.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree.
and kind of knowing what's going on in their locker room. They don't have as many question marks that need to be answered. Um, they kind of come in with a plan and hopefully execute that plan better. But yeah,
Yeah.
with the surprise of the Kyrie signing, because I was worried that he would leave, um, and then they would have traded all that for nothing. But
Yeah.
they signed him. They got to keep their pick. They drafted well, I think, with Lively and Omax. I'd probably say like a and Seth Curry. I might do like A minus. I think it was pretty
Yeah.
good offseason, all things considered. Trying to make
Yeah.
Luca happy. That's all you can do.
Yeah. And you got rid of Justin Holiday, who like airballed like a whole bunch of threes. I remember watching. So, um, yeah, no, I would probably give him an A minus as well. I think they did the best with what they have, what they could
Hmm.
do.
Right.
Um, I think this is the to me, their biggest concern needs to be Luca's happiness and wanting to
Right.
stay with Dallas. And right now, I don't see any reason why he would want to leave. But just want to keep that up. You know what I mean? And you don't want to put that in danger or anything. So yeah, I think they did good considering, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Let's talk about the Nuggets, the defending champion Denver Nuggets. Had a
All
couple
right.
couple big losses, I think. Bruce Brown, probably the biggest. He signed that contract with Indiana that we'll get into a little bit later.
Awesome for him. Good for
Awesome
him.
for him. Definitely
Yeah.
happy for him. They lost Jeff Green to the Houston
The
Rockets.
goat. The goat. Shout out Jeff.
Uncle
Champion
Jeff,
Jeff.
champion Jeff. But they did get Justin Holiday,
Yeah, yeah.
who hopefully can not airball a million times. They also signed Jay Huff,
Who we have a good story
Rockets
of.
Summer League legend. Yeah, Dom and I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
we when we were in Vegas for Summer League, we stayed at the Golden Nugget, and right at the bottom of the elevators to our room, there's a Chick-fil-A, and um, Jay Huff was standing there in line at Chick-fil-A. And Dominique is just like, look who it is. And I looked and I thought he was pointing out some random person. And I was like, Okay. And then he was like, no, that person. And I was like, oh, you mean the seven
The
foot tall
7 foot
guy?
tall.
Oh, yeah, I see him now.
Yeah.
Jay Huff. Yeah. And then we talked to him and we told him, we were like, oh, we're like, this is right after we watched the Rockets play Summer League. He started
Yeah.
at center. We're like, oh, we're big Rockets fans. And he was like, oh, yeah, thanks. And then like we go to the next summer league game. He's not on the Rockets summer league team anymore. So
So
he,
funny.
he was probably just like, oh, these
Yeah.
guys don't know. Like,
But he was so nice that like he had I had no he was just nice. He's just like he was like I think he was just happy to be recognized. I don't He's definitely not one of those players that people were looking for at summer league. He's not your Wimbies or your
right.
Scoots. Um but yeah, he was a really nice guy. I'm glad he found a home on the NBA defending NBA champions. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see
He's
how much playing time he
he's
gets,
he's
but
none. He's like their fourth center.
I know. I mean, they re-signed. Oh wait, did
DJ.
they?
They got DJ.
They
They did
re-signed
not resign
DeAndre
Thomas
Jordan.
Bryant.
I see that.
Bryant's
Okay,
gone.
I see that now. Wow. Okay, so yeah, they got DeAndre. They got the goat.
They got
So
DeAndre. They have Zeke Nnaji.
you
Um,
gotcha.
so yeah, I don't think he'll really get any playing time. But then, they money they did have, they decided to spend on NBA legend Reggie Jackson, bringing him back to the team. Signed on the hat. Dominiquez has the hat ready to go. Um, yeah, like we mentioned in episode one, big fans of Reggie Jackson. Didn't really get any playing time on the Nuggets last season, but then they spent money
No,
on him. So I don't really get that. Like,
I don't get it either.
why
I
not
like,
fill a
yeah,
position of need or something?
and then get him on the veteran minimum. Like he's
Right.
definitely that kind of player now. But I mean, good for Reggie. But
Yeah.
um, besides that, there's not really a lot to say about the Nuggets off season. I mean, they lost a lot of pieces that I think are going to hurt them. Obviously, they're still the defending champs, and they still have Jokic. They still have Murray. They still have Aaron Gordon. Like they have KCP, another one of our favorites. So like they're still going to be contenders for sure.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at what they were last year compared to this year, I think they're definitely worse.
Hmm.
Not to say that they are worse than anyone else or anything, but they're worse than they were last year. So like it's hard to grade them because it's not like they could do anything. They couldn't get Bruce Brown back. They could only offer him like 7 million. And he got 20 million a year with the Pacers. So it's like choice is easy there. Um, Jeff Green, they weren't going to pay him more than the minimum. I don't know how the Rockets gave him a little bit more, I think, than that.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's hard to grade because not they had choices, but with what they could do, I don't think they did it. I mean, they got Justin Holiday, they got Jay Huff, who we like, but re-sign Reggie Jackson to mid-level. I mean, that's probably a C minus or something,
Yeah, I was
like
thinking to see. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's just
trying.
there's not a lot of options. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like with the money and everything. But they're still gonna be good. They're still gonna be good. They're still gonna be contenders. They still can win again. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll have to find out.
Yeah. Well, not a ton to touch on there, so we'll move on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. The next team did quite a bit and is pretty interesting. I think they're gonna be fun to watch, and Detroit Pistons. They lost some players that I don't even know who these people are.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Hami is former Thunder Hamidou Diallo, former NBA dunk contest champion, dunked over Shaq.
are you
Um,
serious? Wow,
yeah.
I did not know that.
Uh, he's an okay guard. RJ Hampton, I mean, he's gone from the Magic, or he went from the Nuggets to the Magic to the Pistons,
Yeah.
got waived. He's really struggled. Hope he lands somewhere. Then Corey Joe, veteran point guard, veteran presence. Other than that,
Yeah,
eh, you know,
exactly. So, for the
nothing
Pistons, it's
too
us.
terrible.
Yeah, it's just about adding. And I mean, so one of the first things they did was get Joe Harris. So it doesn't really fit the timeline of players, but is a great 3-point shooter. So it's going to help if Cade's healthy. His play. We can see his playmaking finally like coming to fruition.
Yeah,
Joe,
I wonder how much playing time he'll get on the Pistons.
you think he's on? I mean, he's a shooter. I mean, who else are you going to have? Who else is going to be shooting?
Well, they just have so many young guys.
Yeah, I get it. I think they'll run. I mean, I know they kept Alec Burks too, right? Pretty sure they kept
Yeah, I
him.
think he's under con he
He's
was
under
already under
contract.
contract. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, they still have a little bit of the older guys that
Still
might get some
have
playing time.
Bojan?
I think they still do,
Yeah.
right? I think they still do. But I think my biggest concern with the Pistons, I think they did a lot of good things this offseason. My biggest concern is all the big men they have. They got James Wiseman,
Hmm.
as they re-signed Isaiah Stewart. They
First,
have
first, the first Piston in a lot of years, like 15 years or something. That here, I'm gonna look it up real quick. That has signed a rookie extension.
okay.
I'm gonna look
You
it
look
up.
it up and I'll finish. Yeah, so they still have Jalen Duran, who we saw play in summer league, and we also saw him at the Through the Wire podcast, and he was really cool, really great guy talking to. And I know there's a fourth big. Oh, Marvin Bagley. They got
Marvin
four.
Bagley.
They got four bigs, and these are all bigs that you would probably say are fives. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'm curious. I know we watched in summer league. We watched them do a little bit of James Wiseman at the 5 and Jalen Duren at the 4, and I mean,
It's
the
kind of weird.
Rockets, yeah, it was weird. It just, I don't think really fit. They don't really, one of them should be a spacer and none of them can shoot. Either one of them don't shoot. So my only concern with them is that I do like Jaden Ivey a lot. think he's
Hmm.
awesome. Cade Cunningham, very fun player to watch. They got Asar Thompson, who I really enjoyed watching at Summer League, and great defensive presence. I think that maybe that's one thing they were missing. They have a lot of offensive capability players, but didn't have a lot of defense, and I think they addressed that with Asar. And I think he's someone you can plug into the starting line. It seems like he's NBA ready, you
Hmm.
know, like his brother Amen. So, considering all of that, besides the center, oh, they also got Monte Morris, so veteran, kind of backup point guard. I like Monte quite a bit. And I would probably say like A minus, considering I just really wish they figure out, or B plus. I just want them to figure out the center situation. Um,
Yeah, I think what you're saying, Wiseman clearly he clearly wanted the ball in summer league in the post and do post work, so he definitely plays like a five. Jalen Duren, good player, good
Rebounding,
rebounder, good
blocking,
defender,
yeah,
not really a shooter, plays like a five. Isaiah Stewart plays like a five. Marvin Bagley plays like a five. So it's like,
exactly,
yeah, like you're saying, they have five people that in the modern NBA, where at least four people on the court need to shoot the ball. It's gonna be hard to find time for all those guys.
yeah,
I think, Wiseman and Bagley, they're kind of projects. They were
yeah,
both number two overall picks for teams and they weren't really working out. So they kind of bought low and they're trying to develop them, see what they have.
yeah.
Which I think is a good idea.
I
There's
think
anything
so
wrong with that.
too. I think he
Um,
did. I mean, James Wiseman did pretty well at Summer League.
he looked like a grown man.
I mean, yeah, he was always. I know. I think his concern when he joined the league was he's kind of lanky.
Mhm.
Definitely now looks definitely muscled up, looks big. Even though him and Jabari were going at it, Jabari won, but I think he's just a better player right now.
Yeah,
So Wiseman still has something to prove, and maybe that'll translate into the NBA. We'll see.
yeah, and I think, like you mentioned, Asar, good draft pick, good defensive presence. He did a lot of like jumping passes, and things like
Love
that.
that. Yeah, put
Guarding
his
his man
body.
one on one, he had a couple of blocks, and then that was creating offense, which I think is going to be really important for the Pistons, with
Yeah,
their young team with uh Cade and those guys. I think they're going to run the court a lot. So the more kind of turnovers they can force, easier buckets they can get. I think
yeah.
they'll be good. I would say probably.
You got to give some A's. I'm just saying.
I was gonna say probably an A. I liked their offseason.
Yeah,
I think they know their direction. Even people like Joe Harris, Monte Morris, if they're just veteran
yeah,
presences in the locker room, um, that's good. You need that.
yeah. And
Um,
it's yeah, still got Bogdanovich as far as I know,
mhm.
and I think the plan is to, you know, get him off the team, but he was good last year, like maybe they wanted to, run it back again, see how that goes. So we'll see. But yeah, I think they had a good offseason for sure.
Uh, Real quick, I just want to touch. I know today we're trying to go through the off season of every team, but I'm already noticing how long we've been recording. So
Yeah,
I think what we should do, if you agree with this, we have covered 9 teams today. There are
yeah,
28 teams. If we were to do the next five, and then we cut it at half, and then we'll do the next 14
yeah. Let's do
next
that.
time.
Sounds good.
So yeah, because you already did the Rockets Lakers, we skipped those, and now we've done
Exactly.
9 teams today. Um, cool. So moving on, the Warriors.
Yeah. So
Biggest thing they did for me, of
yeah,
course, the addition of Chris Paul and the loss of Jordan Poole. Um,
yeah. So
so
I want your initial reaction to this. So you read the headline
mhm,
that they Warriors got Chris Paul and Jordan Poole is going to the Wizards. We knew Chris Paul was going to be on the Wizards. We knew that.
mhm.
Um, but whenever they got Bradley Beal, so we knew something was going to happen. But what was your initial reaction seeing the headline?
Yeah, so Chris Paul got traded. First, he got traded to the Wizards, and I was like, "There's no way he's gonna stay on the Wizards."
Right.
So I was like, "Yes, go somewhere." And yeah, when I saw that, I was shocked. I was just shocked. I thought, like in my brain, he does not seem like the Warriors are a system team. The way they operate their game is very selfless. There's not a lot of ball dominance. It's passing, it's getting
Very
open, it's cutting,
flowing.
it's moving. And Chris Paul doesn't really seem like that kind of player. He likes having the ball in his hand, He likes doing his rip throughs. He likes doing pick and roll, getting to the mid range. That's his whole game. So it didn't make a lot of sense because I was like, I don't really understand like how that's gonna work with what the Warriors do. I know Chris Paul has, I think, like the longest streak in NBA history of starting. He's never came off the bench, and I was like, there's no way he's starting with Steph, Clay, Dre, Wiggins, Looney. That's like the starting lineup in my
Yeah,
eyes. So, I thought it could go one of two ways. I thought it could be an ego thing for Chris Paul, where he's older now, but he still thinks he is a really good player and he wants, the minutes or the starting role or whatever. Or he can realize, and this is what I hope, is that he realizes he, probably has a year or two left in the league before he's probably totally out. And he doesn't have a championship yet. It's like the biggest thing, everyone says about him. He's been, uh, multiple time All-Star, All-NBA, legendary point guard, but he doesn't have the championship. So can you kind of take a step back, fill your role, play for a team that has won multiple championships in the last, they won 5 championships in like the last decade or whatever. So
yeah.
maybe it's four. I think it might be four.
It's
Um,
four. It's four. Yeah, it's four.
four. Um, so it's like, can he kind of suck it up and take that role? And I think, that could be kind of what Jordan Poole wasn't doing. I feel like Jordan Poole, he kind of, I think, thought he was, basically another Steph on the team. He thought he was the guy. But the Warriors have had their guys for a long time. They've had Steph, Clay, and Dre, and even, someone like Wiggins, who they acquired a couple years ago. I think he
Yeah,
came in and he, was basically the number one option on the Wolves for so many years, and that was a losing situation. Comes to the Warriors, he adjusts, he defends really well, he takes shots when needed. He doesn't just
yeah,
take them all the time. Um, and then, he helped them. He was easily the second best player on their championship year
yeah.
a couple years
No,
ago.
I agree. Yeah,
So it's like if Chris Paul can do that and kind of adjust his game, I think it'll be really good for the Warriors. It'll help them when they don't have, Steph on the court or Draymond on the court, somebody who's usually facilitating, and then it's okay to switch up their offense and kind of run it through Chris Paul as the backup against other backups. But, I don't think you can have him on the court with Steph and Clay and Dre and have it be Chris Paul time because that doesn't make any sense. Um,
I totally agree with you. Yeah,
so yeah, I think it, has a potential to be really good, or it might, be a situation where he's unhappy with his playing time because he's not kind of adjusting to the system they
yeah.
need him to adjust to.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was hard for me to believe. I was shocked when I read that too. I thought Jordan Poole like maybe he hadn't didn't deliver as much this last year and also in the playoffs. But the thing is, he is a young player that has an upside for sure. And they're already, I mean, they signed him. They believed in him. They signed him to this like big contract, and they were the Warriors were doing this weird thing where they had like these older players and then these really young players, like Kaminga, Moody, Poole, and then they have, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and everything. So, it seems like now they are definitely, buying into the win now for sure. This is what that means. They're not really looking into developing as much, I think. I agree that if Chris Paul demands to start, it's going to be a disaster. I just feel like I don't see how that could
Yeah.
work. I hope he can buy into the role, come off the bench, because him coming off like there'd be no better, point guard coming off the bench. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
think that'd be really good for them. He probably get quite a bit of playing time. Maybe he can take a rest. I hope he sees that, as not like not a slight, but as a way to win, and maybe he'll get that ring he's been looking for. And I mean, yeah, I don't know how I really feel. I'm curious to see what they're going to do exactly. I think the second biggest thing behind that was re-signing Draymond.
Mm.
I think that was a big like question mark. I don't think a lot of people thought he would go anywhere else. I know there was talk about him going to the Kings, which I thought would have been funny because he stomped on Sabonis's
Yeah,
chest.
that would have
but
been crazy.
um, I think them re-signing him was a no-brainer. I don't think trying like he does what he does well. He fits in that system. Wouldn't really fit anywhere else. That wouldn't be like that. Um, yeah, another big loss I think, at least for me, is the DiVincenzo.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
uh,
he
he
adapted their
was
system really well.
and he was really good. I mean, he was one of those players when I was watching Warriors Lakers, like one of those like thorns in the side. Like he would just get those rebounds out of nowhere. He'd make the open threes, and he was kind of like the guy you kind of forgot about, but he was there and he would do really well. I think the Knicks are definitely going to be better for it, but the Warriors lose something, and that they didn't really address that in their offseason, so they just lost someone who's like a shooter. Chris Paul's not a shooter; he's a
Yeah,
facilitator.
I think at least for the defense, I think they're hoping for a more healthy season from GP2.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, he's back. Right. Yeah.
but yeah, like you said, the shooting, the spacing, part they didn't really address. And when you have Steph and Clay, it's like, oh, okay, you basically have all the shooting you need. But
Yeah.
and then of course Iggy retired. Um,
Yeah.
so
Shout out,
he wasn't
shout
really
out
playing,
Iguodala.
but
But yeah, he was
Finals
a
MVP Andre Iguodala.
the Udonis Haslem of the Warriors for
Yeah,
sure.
basically,
You know.
basically.
But yeah, shout out to him. I definitely enjoyed watching him play a lot growing up on the Sixers. I thought he was really cool to watch, very athletic.
hmm Dunk
So
contest winner, I think.
dunk contest, yeah, or yeah, definitely one of those guys that highlight. He could definitely be, have a highlight. So I mean, the Warriors off season, they also got Dario Saric. I mean, I guess as a backup to Looney, sure,
Yeah, we'll see.
but you know, all things considered, I'd probably give him like a C. I don't know, C plus. I just with before okay, I'll say C. I'll say C plus. And the reason why is just I don't know how Chris Paul is going to fit on this team. I just don't.
Yeah,
And the thing
a
is,
lot of unknowns.
if he doesn't do well, then they're still going to be. I don't. If you have Steph, Clay, Draymond, Looney, and Wiggins, like you still have that five, you're probably still a contender. The
Right,
thing is, the minutes without them on the court are going to be hurting. So it's
right.
like, how far do you expect to go if you don't have any help? And Jordan Poole did help when they won in 2022. Like
Yeah,
he was a contributor. Chris Paul, is he going to be that? We'll
they
find
just
out.
paid him a lot of money. I think that's
Yeah,
primarily why they got rid of him because that the
yeah,
second curtain I mentioned earlier.
yeah, yeah. What do you
Hopefully,
feel?
yeah. I mean, I feel like you said, that starting five is really good. You have Chris Paul from the backup unit. Could not speak
Yeah,
for a second. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is that his impacts will be locker room as well for specifically the young guys.
yeah.
Kuminga has been on and off. Moses Moody has kind of had moments here and there. They drafted a couple guys. Um, I don't really know anything about the guy they drafted in the first round, but I know Trace Jackson Davis they drafted in the second round. I remember it was one of the last picks of the draft. I remember he had a Twitter post that said, "I'm gonna make y'all regret it" or something like that. Like you love that
Okay.
attitude.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so hopefully, I mean, I don't think, if they have contending that the rookies especially will be a part of that, but hopefully those guys like Kuminga and Moody that have been on the team for a couple of years will start to fill in some of the voids, people that left, like the Dante DiVincenzo's and Jordan
Yeah, and the
Poole's of the
Otto
world.
Porter Jr. year before,
Year before,
so
yeah. He was
so
really good for them.
yeah, he was
Yeah, I'd
good for
say
them.
it's so hard. I mean, it's like I want to rank them a question mark because I
Yeah,
don't know.
literally, it's just one of those play. Yeah, it's one of those teams. Like, what else could they have done? Could they have
Yeah,
just run it back? But
they're
they
so
wanted to do
expensive.
something. They wanted to win now. Exactly, they're one of those teams that have to worry about that new curtain. So you know, we'll see what they do this year. Definitely with that, they still contenders. So we'll see.
Iguodala retired, C minus.
You don't have Iggy? I'm not watching. I'm not watching.
All right. Skip along now to the team. One of the teams that I think will be um one of the most fun teams in the
I
NBA
agree.
next year.
Yeah.
And that is the Indiana Pacers. Biggest news, of course, they gave the max rookie extension to Tyrese Halliburton, one of the most
Congrats. Shout out.
fun guards in the NBA. Love watching Tyrese Halliburton
Yeah.
um
Triple
play.
double threat. Awesome. You love to see that.
Yeah, good playmaker, good shooter, even though his shot's a little janky looking. Um,
No,
but
yeah.
no, I very excited for them. Notable losses, I mentioned Brissett earlier for the Celtics. I don't think
Yeah.
with the people that they gained, I don't think that's really a big deal at all.
Yeah.
And then they traded Chris Duarte, which is fine. I mean, he was only drafted a couple years ago, but he's already 39 years old somehow. So
Yeah, I liked him a lot when he was drafted, and I know he kind of fell out the rotation, had some injury stuff, but he's on the Kings, and I think he'll contribute on the Kings now. So
yeah.
I think it's a win-win for both, for sure.
And we mentioned it earlier, Bruce Brown, big bag for Bruce Brown after contributing to
Lord have
Denver.
mercy.
It's like
Yeah.
2 years, 50 million or something crazy like
40,
that.
40
40.
million. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Let's not get crazy.
yeah, but you hope that his winning mentality that he brings from Denver will
Yeah.
contribute to the Pacers, and I think that I think it's a good deal because it's 2 years, and we talked about the floor earlier, how you have to spend the money. Why not spend it on a guy that just played a vital role in winning a championship?
Yeah,
And
and he's
hope
gonna contribute
hope he brings that kind of
immediate.
culture
Yeah.
to your organization. Um, Obi Toppin, I think, a good addition from the Knicks. He's been on the Knicks. They drafted him in the first round. He was kind of a
Yeah.
highly touted prospect, an older prospect, and I think the Knicks were not expecting the All NBA jump from Julius Randle. So him and Obi kind of play the same position. Obi never really got a big
Yeah.
opportunity. Now, they didn't pay a ton for him. I think, especially with Tyrese Halliburton, that'll be some fun pick and rolls.
Lob threat too, very
Great lob
fun.
threat, very athletic,
Uh,
moves in transition, and I think
Full court. Yeah,
a
it'll be
lot of
fun.
this team will be kind of running. Not a lot of half court offense, a lot of moving in transition, crashing the board and running. I think he'll be good for that. And then I,
Yeah.
I really liked I really liked their draft pick, Jarris Walker, uh,
Yeah.
from UH.
Go
So
Cougs.
Texas, we got to root for Texas people here.
Got
Um,
to.
so yeah, I liked him in summer league. I think he'll kind of fill that. He's kind of small for a four, but I think that's probably the role he'll slide into.
Hmm.
um, with Obi as well. So you have, them as your four. They still have Miles Turner. Bruce Brown probably will start at the three with the money he's making. And then, of course, you have Tyrese, you have Andrew Nimhard, you have um, Benedict Mathurin, you have a lot of good, fun, uh,
Yeah. Young.
athletic shooting. I think I'm going to give. Looking at this and their losses, I mean, this offseason might be an A for me. I really like
Yeah.
this offseason.
Yeah. I'm going to give him an A too. I think they addressed obviously it seems like they want to take that next step. Keeping Tyrese is a great first start to that, and then getting Bruce and Obi. I mean, um, drafting Jarris. I mean, it's just going to be fun to watch. I mean, they were good last year before Tyrese went out with the injury, so now they're
Mhm.
just going to be better. So yeah, I give them an A.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping, they have enough young talent on their team that they don't try to tank. I hope they try to win and push for, a 6, 7 kind of seed. Just so they kind of start getting the
Yeah,
winning mentality. They know they're not gonna contend or be a championship contender, but you can't go from, 13, 14, 12, and then jump all the way up to the two seed and expect to
yeah,
win. You kind of have to do it in steps. So
yeah,
I hope that they kind of take one of those steps next year.
yeah. I think I hope so as well. They have a great coach in Rick Carlisle as well, so that will be really fun to watch. I'm excited to see what they do. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Let's moving on to probably the shortest team we could talk about. Dom
yeah,
Lewis's least favorite team in the NBA.
gotta be.
LA's number one team, you know.
No, 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 no.
No, the Clippers, the
The
Clippers.
Clippers. Yeah, it's so funny living in LA too, how little people here care about them. It's just funny. And the thing is this like I only hate that they're in the same city as the Lakers. That's really it. It's not like I hate the team. I like Kawhi. I liked Terrence Mann. Paul George is fine. So but their off season so far is pretty light. They lost Eric Gordon. He got signed to the Suns, veteran minimum. I mean, he was fine when he was on the Clippers. I know he went from the Rockets to Clippers. But they're like kind of overstuffed with these like kind of older 3 and D players. They have like Robert Covington still too, and um, yeah. So I wasn't really surprised that they waived him, and then he got signed to the Suns, and they got I think one of our favorite like young players to watch, Kenyon Martin Jr.
Shout
Which I
out Kenyon Martin Jr., man.
shout out, man. Electrifying, athletic, young. I just don't know what the Clippers are doing. I don't. I wonder if they are. I wonder if they're like. The thing is, are Kawhi and Paul George healthy? Are they going to play
Right.
the year? And if they are, then obviously they're a threat. You know, they got this re-signed Russell Westbrook, which is
Shout out Russell Westbrook.
shout out Russell. Good for him. Definitely a better fit than on the Lakers. It was just a fact. But I just don't know what their plan is if, let's say, Kawhi doesn't play half the year again, and then Paul George is out the other half. Like, who do they expect? Are they going to just, fall out the first, round of the playoffs again? I know they won the first game against the Suns, and people were going like, "Oh, like Clips are back," but then they lost 4 in a row. So it's, you know, how do you feel about it? I
Clip
read and
gang,
see a
don't
lot
bang.
here.
Yeah,
What?
I said clip gang, don't bang.
Yeah.
That's their motto, according to me. Um, no, yeah, the Clippers, one of those big what if teams. I have a lot of respect for Kawhi after his Toronto run. I was like, man, this guy is awesome. And then he left, and I was like, oh, he wanted to move back to home. Yeah, I can't blame him too much for that.
Yeah.
And then they traded a million picks for Paul George, which at the time, like looking back on it, it looks really bad. But at the time, that year, Paul George with the Thunder finished third in MVP voting, so he was like the man. And they had to trade for him for Kawhi to sign because
Yeah,
Kawhi wouldn't have signed otherwise. Um, because the Lakers had room to sign him that year too. Um, so you look back and you look at SGA. Yeah, he's become he was a top 5 player basically last year, All NBA
yeah,
first team. So it's like you can't predict that he'll become that player, and you can't predict all of the injury stuff. So it sucks. Yeah, it's bad. I know Kawhi and Paul George, I think, both become eligible extension this year.
yeah. They're gonna have to make some big decisions
They're
soon.
they're both in their 30s. They're both have years of injury concerns, and they probably still want max money, if not very close to max money. I don't think you can give two injury-riddled superstars max money again for another 4 years. They made the one conference finals appearance that
Which
year.
was their first,
Yeah.
so not to be taken lightly, but how they have not been at that level since.
Other than
Yeah,
that, they blew the 3-1 against the Nuggets in the bubble. They lost against the Suns in the first round, like you mentioned. Had a couple of battles, in the playoffs, but they never get that far, and they always have some sort of injury. They've never had, I think, aside from the Nuggets coming back on them, I think every other year, Kawhi or Paul George was injured in the
yeah,
series that they lost. So, it sucks. It sucks, and it's impossible to fill the void, I think, of your superstar stars, even though a lot of people talked about their depth. They had so much depth, and they do have a lot of depth, but like just because you have a player backing up your guy, it's not the guy. So,
exactly. And
you
they're
know,
all a little older, so it's just that's why I think Kenny Martin Jr. was a good signing, but it's like these other guys aren't going to be able to do as much.
yeah,
So
I
compared to
loved
superstars,
Kenyon Martin on the Rockets. He requested a trade last offseason, but he was still awesome, and I loved him.
yeah.
And obviously, you talked about in the first episode how much I love Russell Westbrook. So, based on those two things, I got to give the Clippers an A. I love
I
those.
mean, yeah, when you're comparing, like I can only grade what they've done, not what they like have prevented to do, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like considering what they've done, I give them like a B plus, like I
yeah.
don't think it was I think they're doing what they can. I just don't think they know what they want to do yet, considering the
I
end of this year
I
with
think
Kawhi and
Yeah, I
Paul
think,
George.
I mean, as long as you have Kawhi and Paul George, I think you have to try to contend.
Yeah,
So, I think getting players to help you do that. Most of their, they didn't really, like you said, the only player of note they really lost is Eric Gordon. Everybody else is
yeah,
pretty much under contract. So
yeah.
it's not like they lost a ton. They added a little bit, and Kenyon Martin, I think, will help. I think Russell Westbrook, he showed his value once he got traded there.
Yeah.
Um, so you gotta hope just gotta hope for health. That's basically
Yeah.
it.
I mean, on and as much as I'm not a Clippers fan, I want them to play. I
Yeah,
want Kawhi Leonard, I want
never
Paul
never
George to
want
play.
players to be injured.
No, absolutely not. I mean, so here in LA, I go to a lot of Clippers games because the tickets are so much cheaper than Lakers tickets.
Hmm.
Um, but when I go, like I've only seen Kawhi. I've been to like 5, 6 games, probably more. I've only seen Kawhi play like once or twice. I've seen Paul George play 2 or 3 times. Like, you know, I just feel bad for the Clippers fans. Like they have these guys, they want them to be good, and they can. I hope they're healthy. I hope they don't load manage too much. I hope that they're just healthy and can play. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But yeah, their off season wasn't it's not bad considering everything. Yeah.
All right.
So is that the are we doing one more?
We got
I
two
haven't
more. We got
We got
two
two
more.
more. Okay. Well, the next one is a interesting one, I think.
Okay.
The Memphis Grizzlies.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, so the two losses, to me, Tyus Jones is obviously the bigger loss.
Yeah.
The best backup point guard in the league the last year or two, like no
Yeah.
turnovers.
Hmm.
Great. Exciting to see what he does on the Wizards. He'll probably be a starter over there, so we'll see what he can do. And then obviously
No one's watching the Wizards. No one's watching the Wizards.
I'm curious I might watch a couple of games. I'm gonna be
Backcourt of
honest.
Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole. Really,
That seems really. I mean, they got Kuz still. I don't know. I think it's gonna be. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
just to finish
But
as the 12 seed.
I'll have fun watching it. Maybe I'll go see them play the Lakers for like $40, and then that'll be worth it. Um. So other loss is Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about him with the Rockets off season, so I won't get too much into it. What I did like about the Grizzlies off season, um, man, the losing Dylan Brooks I liked, but I liked that they replaced him with a better player, Marcus Smart,
Hmm.
a better, I think younger, right? Too
Mm, I don't. I don't think so.
really okay. I thought he was younger. Anyways, but I better definitely. Has just
Also,
better
that
shooting spreads.
that
What's
Isaiah
up?
Stewart thing I looked up earlier, I
Yeah.
forgot about. It was it was the first time since 2008 that a rookie has signed an
Damn.
extension.
Wow.
Uh,
Good for him.
Dylan Brooks is 27. Marcus Smart is 29.
Oh my, I thought it was like flipped. Anyways, Dylan Brooks just looks way older. I
He
guess I don't
looks
know.
ancient. He looks so, especially when we saw him this summer league, he
Yeah,
looked old.
he did not look like himself. We were like, I think that's Dylan Brooks. But so they got Marcus Smart. They signed Desmond Bain. It was a rookie extension, right? The
Ricky
max, right?
Max. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So awesome for him. I know
Love
we're
Desmond Bain.
big fans of Desmond Bain. We got one of our favorite Rockets players, Josh Christopher, as well.
Hmm.
Sad to see him go, but hopefully he gets some playing time in the Grizzlies. I mean, um, I don't hate their off season. I know the Grizzlies season is a huge question mark with Ja Morant and his suspension. How many games? 30 games, I
20,
think.
25.
Yeah, they're gonna have to play 25 games without him. I mean, they signed Derrick Rose. Maybe he'll get playing time during that. He's just older now.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's really managing the ball? I guess Marcus Smart will do that. Desmond Bain, but when Ja comes back, then they're definitely going to be better than they were last year. I think. They still have shooters like Luke Kennard. Steven Adams is healthy. That'll help them out. I mean, how do you feel about this offseason for them?
Yeah. This is like the worst year to not have John Morant when you lose Tyus Jones. Because, like you said, one of the best backup point guards. Really, the only loss, like you said, John Brooks went to the Rockets. Who cares? They literally said we don't want you, so
Yeah.
they told him straight up. So yeah, it's. I think the start will be rocky. I think it could be good. I know a couple years ago without Ja, they were like 22-2, and people were freaking out because they were like, "Oh my
I
God,
remember that too.
we need
Yeah,
Ja
yeah,
because they're so good without him." A big part of that was Tyus Jones is a really good backup.
yeah,
Um, but I think it could be good if they play some of their guys that haven't gotten as much playing time over the last couple of years, see what, develop them a little bit on the NBA
yeah.
court, and then maybe they'll become fine backups. Um, Yeah, no, I like their offseason a lot. We talked about Josh Christopher a little bit in the Rockets offseason. He was one of my favorite Rockets. I never understood why he didn't get more playing time. I hope he
Yeah,
gets playing time on the Grizzlies.
me too.
Um, Especially without Ja the first 25 games. He should be good enough at least to have a backup role there.
Hmm.
Um, Really, really liked Marcus Smart. I like the pickup for that. I think basically he's what Dylan Brooks wants to be. He's
Yeah,
that
exactly.
kind of
Yeah,
defensive presence, but he backs it up. I think he's been more consistent offensively. And I think he just fits the Grizzlies to me, like that kind of grind it out kind of.
yeah, has that
Uh,
like grit in him, that like
yeah,
tenacity that you want to play with. So I'm definitely excited to see him on the team. I definitely like that fit a lot, and I think I'm glad that they realized that they were losing that defense, and they brought in,
yeah.
you know,
Trading two firsts, so a little bit of a risky move trading two first.
yeah, but I think Grizzlies are pretty much in with like Jaw and with Desmond Bain and where they are right now. I think they're as much as they can be in a win now mode. So I don't
Yeah,
hate that they use the
and
two firsts.
they're
So
on, they're on Desmond Bain and John both young, so they're
exactly,
they're
yeah,
getting better. But I think they're trying to develop that winning culture. And Jaren Jackson Jr. hopefully has another healthy year. Um,
absolutely
on the hat, the Jackson hat.
on the hat.
Steven Adams, yeah, they kind of fizzled out in the playoffs with Steven Adams going down, Brandon Clark going down. So just
Yeah,
comes back healthy, hopefully having a good year. I think the loss of Tyus Jones is kind of bad, but other than that, I liked everything. So I'd say probably like a B plus.
yeah, I give them a B plus too. Yeah, I think they did what they could, um, with their losses.
Yeah. All right, we got one more to talk about, and then
Let's do it.
that is the finals appearing team, the Miami Heat. A lot going on in Miami, so I'll try to get through this very quickly. The worst thing that happened in Miami is the retirement of Udonis Haslem.
Thank you for saying it, because I was gonna say it if you didn't. The
we
goat,
we
the
love Udonis. We
man.
love
Oh
Udonis.
my gosh, shout out Udonis. Shout
Shout out
out.
Udonis. We've joked about him for years. Because he's basically a player coach.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know if he'll come back as like an actual coach.
Yeah.
We'll see. But he losing that presence sucks. They lose Victor Oladipo, not a huge deal because he's been injured a lot. We hope he
Literally the
gets
whole,
healthy
yeah,
and plays.
absolutely.
He's on the Thunder right now. The Thunder we'll get to next episode. They literally have 20 players on their roster right now, so I don't know if he'll make it through camp.
Yeah.
But Max Strus, we talked about, lost to the Cavs. We talked about losing Gabe Vincent to the Lakers last episode.
Yeah.
Those are two starters for your finals team, so that's a little scary.
Yeah.
Um, Omer Yurtseven, Zeller, those are two big guys. Yurtseven didn't even play. Zeller played, unfortunately. Probably
Yeah. Yeah,
shouldn't have.
exactly.
Um, so losses there, some more important than others, but I think they
Hmm.
had some good additions as well. Thomas Bryant can
Yeah.
definitely get some backup play for Bam.
Definitely high, better than Zeller, I
Better than
think.
Zeller as
Yeah.
long as he doesn't get run over the whole time like Zeller
Yeah.
was. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Jaime Jaquez was I think a lot of people liked that pick. I think it's kind of up in the air because the Heat are the number one team listed for Dame. So
Yeah.
he might be, and he's probably like it has to be in that deal if it happens. So it's kind of hard because the Heat off season might not be done yet. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. So we can only grade it as is like right now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and
Yeah.
I wanted to briefly talk about this. There's a thing released today or yesterday. I don't remember. I read it from Shams, The Athletic, and it was NBA put out a statement to all teams, and it was like there will be like severe consequences for Damian Lillard if he doesn't play because he's only showed interest in going to one team. So just because he's not going to that one team doesn't mean like he can't. Like the NBA will punish him for it or something. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we're in a time right now where the players have a lot more say than they used to, which is good.
right.
These are
Player
people
empowerment.
after all. Exactly. But it's also a business, right? So I understand, you really put the team you're on in a tough position when you're like, I only want to play for this one team. And
Right.
let's be the package that the Heat can put together for the Blazers is not great. I wouldn't be
Not great.
excited if I was the Blazers. So that statement is interesting. The only thing that I that makes me kind of like okay with is because I know Dame loves basketball. He loves playing basketball. Like he
Hmm.
loves it. So he's not gonna like not play in spite.
Hmm.
I don't think he's gonna try. He wants to win. Obviously, I don't think he's going to sabotage the Blazers or his career just for that. So I think um in that regard that I hope something works out. I hope everyone is happy in the end. Um, but considering like their off season as it is right now, and they lost a lot, and they did their best with what they could. I mean, they kept Kevin Love. He was good for them in the playoffs. He had a lot of really cool like outlet passes that that were good. Made some big shots. Re-signed Josh Richardson, which is, I mean, he's a pretty good 3 and D. He's been the journeyman the last couple of years, but I like him. He's pretty good. Just 3 and D guy, mostly defense, but
Yeah,
you
his
know,
best year was on the Heat. Um,
yeah,
right before they had Jimmy. And
yeah.
then yeah, since then he's kind of gone. Uh, I think he was on the
Sixers,
Mavericks, the Sixers, the
Mavericks,
Celtics, the Spurs.
Pelicans, Pelicans. Most
Yeah,
recently,
was he
yeah,
actually on the Pelicans?
yeah.
Well,
I promise.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I looked up this thing. So uh, Damian Lillard and his agent was calling people saying like, "Don't try to trade for Dame. He only wants to go to Miami." And then the memo the NBA put out said the memo made clear any further comments from Lillard or his agent could result in discipline from the league. It also stated that similar behavior from other players in the future could result in discipline. So basically, the NBA is just like, stop saying that you only play for one team because that's not how the NBA works.
yeah. Which I mean, I agree with,
Yeah.
to a certain extent. I think that's how it should be. I don't think as much as it would be nice you get to choose where you go, it's not 2K. You can't, you
It's
know.
not 2K. It's not my career. You can't
It's
just
not.
request
You
to
just
trade
can't.
and pick a team.
But that's what makes it, a competition and a business and everything. And what makes the NBA, what makes professional sports, right?
Yeah.
Um, but considering all of that, I think they lost a lot. So if they don't get Dame and they are where they are, I think they're definitely worse than they were last year. But they did their best. I mean, I'd probably give them like a C plus, B minus, that
I was
range.
thinking like C minus C.
Yeah,
Loss of Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, I think is huge. It's huge for them.
huge. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see when the start of the season begins, and from there, what happens. But it was a great season for them last year. Can they replicate what they did? I mean, eighth seed to the championship is a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
So
I
we'll
think
see.
people kind of expect, well, not expecting them to go to the championship, but it's like a Heat 8 seed is different than like if the Hornets somehow make the 8 seed, it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
it's like
uh
people
I
respect them.
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Okay, so we've covered half the NBA at
Half
this
the off
point.
seasons.
Half the off
Well,
seasons.
I
Yeah.
guess technically we've covered 16, so we covered one more than half, but we
Okay,
we had we did
52%.
two episode one, we did 14 today. We'll do 14 next time.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. We'll try to do
because
it sooner than later too, just so it'll be kind of consistent.
yeah, yeah, people will be very confused. They listen to the first two episodes and they're like, okay, so I know everything about half of the
And
NBA.
the Jazz, where are
What?
they?
Oh, yeah, we still have some fun teams to get to.
Yeah, no, there's a lot still to go over, but yeah, I think we've gotten into it pretty in depth, and yeah, thank if when you're listening, thanks for listening to this. We're excited to keep putting out more content and more episodes. And at the beginning of the episode, Damon mentioned, we have a YouTube, we're gonna be on Spotify, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us on there. We'll keep you updated.
It's all
Shoot us,
there. It's
shoot
all
us any
there.
questions or anything, segments you want us to talk about or news. And yeah, we'll look forward to talking next time. It's
Yeah.
always good to see my good friend Damon.
Oh, likewise.
Yeah.
like we said, we're just two guys that like basketball, like talking about basketball. I figured the offseason was the best time to start something like this. Um, and we've never done a podcast or anything like that, so we're just kind of rolling with the punches. We thought in the first episode we were going to talk about the whole offseason, and we're at the end of the second episode and we still haven't talked about the whole
We
offseason.
have too much to say.
Yeah, I think we we said we were going to talk about a little bit for some. I think we got pretty in depth for every team, kind of the
Yeah,
moves they
and
made.
and I think that's what, as much as I do enjoy a lot of other watching the analysts on ESPN or other podcasts, a lot of them focus on the big teams. And I mean, David and I always talk about how much we love talking about the smaller teams and how they matter too, and they're also very interesting
How
and
will
we
this
fun to
affect
watch.
LeBron's legacy?
Only time will tell.
Who is the
Um,
greatest player of all time?
we're not going to talk about this right now. I can't do this right now. I got too many things to do. But yeah, from D&D, just want to say thanks for listening. Damon's gonna try his shot. We're gonna keep
Yeah,
this as a tradition. All right, he's
yeah,
gonna throw it behind his back.
yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
do want to
comment. I'm
say,
gonna commentate it.
make sure if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video, helps us out. Comment any suggestions, like Dom said. If you're listening on Spotify, leave us 5 stars, download our podcast, do whatever. Tell your friends, listen to these two idiots talk about basketball. They're pretty cool.
We
Uh,
got things to say.
we got things to say, and we got I don't know what I was gonna say after
Hoops to
that.
make. Hoops
Things
to
to
make.
say and hoops to make. And last time
There
I
we
hit the
go.
fan and then I threw it and it was way short, and I haven't practiced at all since then. I really should have.
And
Uh,
remember to move your hand back so I can like see after you toss it because it blocks it when you do it. Yeah.
all right.
All right, here we
I'm
go.
like, is this?
Damon goes up for the shot. It goes behind his back.
No, I hit the ceiling
Nope,
again.
hit
I
the
hit the ceiling
ceiling.
again. I,
Yeah.
I,
It's the ceiling guy. He's
that's
gonna
my
go
warm up
again.
shot. I got a warm up shot every episode.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
That
Well,
was
yeah,
that was as close as I've been. That was
Damon hit the backboard. That's a good
we're getting
start.
there. Well,
We're getting
uh,
there.
leave a here you go. Leave a prediction in the comments. What
Yeah.
episode will Damon finally make the backwards shot? That's a
Episode
great.
52.
Oh my God, I hope it doesn't take me that long. Anyway, if we get to episode 52, I'll be happy.
We're
I'll
doing
be
something
happy.
right then. But anyways, good to see you.
Thank you. Peace.